Good day, YouTube. So today we're doing a video, a little bit different subject. I thought this might help people in the future. How to repair a screen. If you have a screen that's damaged, it's got, like for example, this one, this is torn up. You know, it had to be sewn, and then it's this bar was broken. So these screens, they don't last forever, especially if somebody's having trouble getting it out of a window or whatever, and you got plastic parts that can break. These are corner pieces. So what you can do is go to Home Depot or a similar store. You can buy yourself a kit, which basically allows you to build a new screen from pieces. This particular one is 3 feet by 3 feet, potentially. And you can cut it down and make it fit the size you need. So this particular package cost 40 Canadian dollars. So in the US, you're probably talking about $30 at a Home Depot. It came with most of the tools, but one thing it did not come with is a hacksaw. You do want a hacksaw, so one of these guys, and you also will be helped by having a bit of a workbench, of course. I'm working on the new one here, and a vise. And when you're cutting your rail material, you want to put it really close. Your cut, say I needed to cut right here on the end, over here on the end, I would put that in the vise good and tight right there, not too tight to damage it, and then just go on the long side of the railing material when you're cutting it. So I've already done that piece. And here you can see, here's the new piece installed. You can see it's a little bit nicer color, white. I was able to recycle one spring and from the other side, and then I put a new spring in this one. It didn't quite fit. It wasn't an exact match, but with a mallet, don't use a hammer or you'll damage it. I used a mallet and tapped it down and got it in nicely. And then, of course, there's broken parts, like, here's a spring. Here's a spring that's bent, that came out of the old one. As I said, here's a broken corner piece, the broken rail, and the bad screen. So what you do then, the kit comes with screen material, which I lost. That's why I bought. Actually, I left it at someone's house, so I bought a new one. So basically, you'll be able to do a repair with a kit like this, maybe of 2 or 3 screens. With the other material that I left at someone's house, it'll be available for another fix because we're going to drop off the rest of this kit that I'm not using. The kit comes with this cording material which you push in, and this is sized to these frames to fit in and to tighten the screen in. And then this is the old cording material, which is actually a bit thinner, which is going to fit back into the old rails that I was able to keep. So here's your steps. Basically, you do a very precise measurement of the piece you're replacing. In this case, it was exactly 33 3/16 inches because you want it to fit in the same window frame. And so I cut that down. Then I tapped in a new corner piece here, which had a little bit of trouble getting into this old frame, but it did get in with the mallet. And you put your spring over top, and it just tucks right in there. You can see how it tucks right in. See that? So it tucks in, and that's in really well. I recycled this spring, and this rail and corner piece fit quite well. So here we are. Basically, we got a good frame again. Needs to be cleaned up a little, obviously. So then the next step is you get yourself a good work surface and just tape it down on in the middle of all your sides. So then you're going to be able to work with it. And then the very next step is going to be to take the screen material. This extra roll I bought cost another $20 Canadian, about 15 or so US dollars. And that would be about 300 pesos for this roll. And this guy here, this kit in total would have been probably about 600 pesos. So maybe a little bit under, maybe 500 pesos probably. Anyways, point is, what we're going to do now is we're going to cut this screen material with scissors, and we're going to overlay 2 inches extra. So this is 20 inches, so we're actually going to make 22, 24 for this width. And this is about 34 inches, and we're going to make this 38. So I'm going to just stop the camera, and we're going to cut this. And I have a piece that'll be fitting in, and I'll show you how it installs. Okay, interesting little point. Step 6 of the kit instructions say 2 inches overlap on this roller material that I bought. It just says, you know, cut the screen to match overall frame dimension. So given that, I don't think it's going to be any problem at all to not worry about the 2-inch overlap, because the length of this, the width of this roll, I should say, is just about right with the length. So I'm just going to use about 1 inch, and we'll save a little bit of this material, so I won't have to cut an odd shape out of this roll. And always looking to try to save money, save material. So this is 36 by 40 inches. We're going to use the 36 on my long dimension, and then the 40 inches on my short dimension. And those dimensions, including the 2 inches, were 38 by 24. So basically we'll have almost enough material for another screen of the same size. Not quite, because this is actually 20 inches here, and we would have to have no waste at all to actually have 2 chunks that would work. So that's not actually going to work to do a whole new screen, but it'll be a good sized chunk for the next project. So basically we're going to trim off, we're going to leave only 1 inch overhang all around, and then we're going to end up having, that would mean about 18 inches extra of this material and the full roll length. So I'm just putting a board and a little bit of weight here just to pin that down on both sides, or along that one side, so that I can just cut here about 1 inch. Okay, so here's our result. We got a piece of screen that overlays the frame. It's a little bit bigger than the frame all around, and I don't think, as I said, we need the whole 2 inches, so that should be fine. So the next step on a project like this is to put this cording material back in. I'm going to recycle on the 3 sides this, and I'll use some of the thicker material for the wider groove on the new piece of frame. There's a special tool for that, which looks like this. It is it's a tool for installing it. So we'll figure this out, and then you can follow along. So what does it say here? I'll just flip this over where I have the other instructions. And basically they're saying tape 2 adjacent edges of the frame mesh to this frame using the spline tool. That would be this yellow tool. And it looks like the guy's pushing it in, just kind of using his thumb on this piece like this. He's just doing this kind of thing, judging by the picture. Over here, just like that. And then we're going to push the spline and the screen into grooved opposite the taped edges. Remove tape and repeat process on remaining sides. So now opposite the taped edges, well, all my edges are taped, so because I got the impression from this that we were to tape all the edges. It said tape the center of each outside edge to a flat surface. So anyways, so we're just going to try to push this screen material in along one side and an adjacent side, and then see how that looks. Okay, and one little more note before we push this material in. This should be about 4 inches from these tabs. So we need to just move these tabs a little bit. This one actually looks about right. If I go down to the edge of the screen, it's about 4. See, these things just slide. So what we're going to do is just slide this guy to about there, and then that'll give us probably our 4 inches more or less. Yeah, that's good. And then this guy, yeah, we'll give him an extra ½ inch. He should slide nicely as well. There you go, just like that. So you want to just position these guys about 4 inches from the end. So I got one side in. It's a little trickier than it looks, actually. I had to kind of work it in and work it in and work it in, and there's quite a bit of overhang here and almost none here. So yeah, I'm hoping that this is going to be okay. Certainly I won't be doing any trimming on this, or very little. So something to watch for when you're putting this on. If you're a newbie like myself for a screen repair job, you want to definitely focus on getting that centered before you go to town all the way. Anyways, hopefully we'll be able to get that in. I'm going to go down one side, and then I'll put in the I think I'm going to go down this side here, and then I'm going to get the thick one for this new frame. And I'm going to start up here and see if I can pull it tight and get it in, and hopefully we won't have a problem. I suppose in a pinch I could take it all apart again, but that's pretty nasty. So anyway, something to watch for. Try to get that even, you know, not like I did here. Okay, a bit of a heads up here. I'm pushing this in here on this side because it said to do the adjacent. So this is the first, and this would be adjacent. Now, of course, this would be an opposite side. But I'm looking at this, it's kind of bumpy here. Not liking this. This I think is pretty smooth all along here. But if it's bumpy here already, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is actually pull that piece potentially, because when I pull on this, put tension here, yeah, it's a little sketchy. It seems bumpy along there. So I'm going to actually pop that out. I'm going to put a little bit of tension here, and I'm going to use this new material on this new rail just to pin this down so it's nice and tight. Then I'm going to redo this piece. Couple other things to note here. This tool, I noticed, does have a bit of a U-shape groove in it to match the top of the cording. So I do have this in now here. I got a fair bit of tension on this. A little bit disturbing to see that this tool seems to have done some damage to the screen, so hopefully it doesn't get worse as I reinstall this piece. Okay, so by pinning that down and then redoing this piece across here, it seemed to turn out reasonably well. I mean, it's not bumpy, at least over here, and I think once we get tension on this, you know, some of these bumps will go away. I'm going to come down here now next. I'm especially obviously concerned about this piece here, but yeah, we'll punch that in, and Lord willing, that'll stay. So yeah, so this is kind of an exploratory video, so don't take this as like you know, expert advice on how to do it. Learn from my mistakes. Not too much overhang here, more overhang here next time, obviously. Yeah, so we'll keep going down here, try to keep tension on it as I go. We'll see what happens. So this might not be the recommended procedure, but I noticed I was getting good tension here, but I'm concerned about this not necessarily getting good tension through here. And if I pin this in here without having this pulled down enough here, especially in this corner, it could be issues. So what I decided to do is just temporarily put some tension towards this direction and then pin this guy in here. And I think what I'll do is I'll maybe put a little more tension here and here and just do some temporary pinning down with this guy, and hopefully that'll give me good tension this way before I fully commit to doing this. I'll get tension this way, I'll get tension from here this way by pinning down here in 2 or 3 spots, and then I'll be able to put tension on it coming this way. Okay, here's a quick interesting point that I think I've learned doing this, is that when you use this tool and you force this material in, well, a couple things. First of all, working with the new rail, the new cord material is much easier than working with the old. It's almost like this old stuff is dried out and compressed or something, doesn't work as well. Other thing I want to point out, one thing I've noticed is that as you're pushing this material in, this cording, it's actually tensioning the screen on its own. So, I mean, I think it's not a bad idea to have this tensioned up a little bit so that, you know, things are not going to be bumpy. But it is definitely, when I force this in, I can see it pulling the screen towards that cording and then making it nice and flat. So I think all things being equal, we might come out with a reasonable looking screen. Okay, so got that tucked in there. Overall, seems to work pretty well. Last step, I'm gonna pop this out and tuck in there. You know, the other option is I could just not bother coming around that corner and just cut off there then. But you know, I think I'll keep this one piece. So yeah, I'm just gonna pop this up again, and then we're just gonna reapply this used cording. But this part here, of course, that's not tucked in further in, then I'll cut off here. I did cut off here already, this material. Interestingly, this stuff is hollow, which kind of probably accounts for why it's, you know, good for squishing in like that. Okay, so that could have gone a lot worse. It's actually nice. It's flat. There's tension all around. Yeah, it feels good actually. I think it's in the way it should be. Bit of a learning curve, of course, using these tools for the first time. I did discover partly like out on the second rail that you definitely just want to line this guy up over the black and take advantage of that U shape that you have there. And there's probably like other tricks to it that I didn't know. You might want to start here and roll it or something. I don't know. But anyways, it seems to be okay. There's tension on it. So now we're just going to trim it up and we should have a new screen. Okay, there it is. Screen installed. Still taped down. Cut it off with the utility knife. The kit came with a little utility knife. This little guy here. Yeah, probably if you knew what you're doing, it'd be okay. But I find this thing was a little bit hard to work with because you have to keep pressure on the knife blade and you're trying to steer the thing. I just grabbed this from this garage I'm working in where I can borrow all these tools, and that made it a lot easier. So yeah, it's cut off now. You know, it's not perfect, okay, but it's okay. One thing I did notice is on the long edge you get some bending of the bar with the tension of the screen. Because it's in there nice and tense, lots of tension, and I lose a 1/4 inch here on the middle compared to the ends, because these end bars are providing extra force, of course, here and here, and then here you don't have that extra support, and the screen with the tension, it is actually sucking it in about a 1/4 inch, but I think it'll be fine. So there it is. So there we have it. New screen. You can barely even see the screen now. And here's the old parts. Busted up piece of rail and spring and corner. Sewn up screen that was torn. You know, we're getting complaints from the people in the building. They didn't like the look of that. So anyways, I'm going to install this guy, and yeah, should be good. So if you're ever going to need a new screen, pick up a kit, and with the kit, let's see, am I still filming? I don't know, I'm trying to film. So with the kit, you can cut your pieces, assemble it, and cut your screen and fit it in and trim it out and probably save yourself some money. I think a job like this probably would have set me back about $100. So if you don't lose your screen material like I did, probably cost you less than half and a little bit of time. So therefore we speak. Over and out. God bless you, YouTube. Take a look at some of my other videos where I discuss Christian topics, how to be biblical, how to live the Christian life in a world and a church full of deception. God bless you. Bye-bye.